Cool. Well, welcoming everybody's kind of finally logging in here. So hi, Brad. Hi, Elise. Hi, Dr. Moulton. How you doing? And Heather, how you doing? Good to see you here. So I think we're just about up. More people logging in. Brad, I don't know you yet, and Dave, I don't know you yet, but I'm sure one of the people on here might know you. So.
Oh, I know Dave.
Oh, there you go.
Dave Whedon. He's the man.
Well, that is quite an endorsement from Woody. So, awesome. Cool. I'm sure there's going to be people just logging on throughout, but yeah.
We'll get going right at 12:05 if some of you have missed my pre-intro discussion. That we'll just let everyone get logged in. There's still people logging in right now, so
oh yeah,
try to start right at 12:05. Just want to respect everyone's time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the longest 12:04 I think I've ever seen.
We're just so excited. We just can't wait to share, you know?
There we go. 12:05. We're going to hit it. All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get officially started here. So first off, my name is Woody Herzog. I'm the president of WormWood SEO, and I'm really excited about all of you guys being here today. We've got an awesome webinar scheduled for you today, and the next three webinars after this. Really a lot of content. You'll really enjoy it. Just a reminder that this is a 4-part series, and we'll have the next one 1 week, same day and time, Wednesday at 12 p.m. If you're here today, you're already registered for all 4 of them, so you don't need to do anything. Just mark your calendars and be here. A quick reminder that we are recording this. The presentation slides, a success checklist, and some other goodies will be available at the Digital Guerrilla Marketing portal, which will explain how to access at the end of the webinar so be sure you stay for that. Yeah, and then, well, let's get to it. As a small business community across the U.S., we've all felt the impact of COVID-19 on our friends, family, businesses, and our clients. We all own businesses ourselves, and we've felt the same exact thing that everyone else has felt. We just want to let you know that, you see the cliche out there, we're in this together. Well, we really are in this together. And it's our intention for all of us to work together and help you all survive COVID-19 and come out stronger than ever. So you're going to also discover why this team works together on mutual clients. It's dynamic. So that's why we put together this complimentary webinar series. It's really just to help our neighbors, our fellow business owners, bounce back stronger than ever. So here we go. So we assembled a team of experts to give you both the best and the most important items to tackle to do so. Joining me today is Chris Svolini, founder and CEO of Reputation Igniter, which is really a cool tool for managing a reputation online. So, I've had quite a bit of exposure over the last 11, 12 years of being involved in this space. In the reputation and review management area. And we work with the best of the best. Reputation Igniter is top of class. So he's an expert when it comes to all things reputation and reviews online. And then our third panelist is John Howard, Senior Marketing Consultant at Reach Local. Reach Local offers one of the best, and I would say the best, of all delivery systems running pay-per-click available to small and medium business. John has been managing campaigns at Reach Local for over 11 years and has challenged me to find a company that would outperform Reach. And Reach Local has got a very, very unique software that no one else can match that is truly the best in the industry. So very, very excited to hear his thoughts today on some of this. And then we've got our fourth panelist, Malia Naga. She's a senior engineer here at WormWood SEO, leading many of our campaigns for now 10 years. Her touch on local search and SEO is truly special. She's known to be tackle the most difficult SEO projects. One of the best minds for success in this field. There is a reason I trust her on this team. So the question is now that we've introduced everyone, who's who, is how do we ensure our small business thrives the post-COVID-19 era? And really, we're still in COVID-19. So it's how we thrive within COVID-19. How do we thrive coming out of it? So I think we can all agree that small businesses just absolutely changed forever. The challenge we face now is how do we set our business up to not just survive, but to thrive? To answer these really tough questions, we've brought together these leading local marketing experts to show a clear path. So Digital Guerrilla Marketing webinar series consists of 4 parts that I'll go over here, just kind of, you can see them on the screen. But session 1 today is building trust online. 2, update your digital business card. 3 is jumpstarting your digital marketing. And 4 is stepping up your game. So let's get started with Chris. Chris, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Woody. I appreciate that introduction, and just excited for all of you to be here today. And like Woody had kind of shared, we're going to dive into some actionable content for you. We've got some goodies at the end. And so I just invite you to kind of make sure you stick around. We'll have a Q&A session afterwards. So if you've got questions, what I do want to encourage you though, is not to like keep thinking about them, because sometimes that'll make you forget what you're listening to. So feel free to pull up the Q&A section there and type in your questions. We'll address those kind of at the end. And then at the end, we'll also kind of let you know the password to enter into the portal to get access to all the slides, to get to the recording. We've got some success checklists and all that kind of stuff like Woody talked about. And so just excited to kind of put some really great stuff into your hands so that you've got some stuff that you can refer to again and again as you continue to kind of spin up or wind up coming out of this together. So without kind of beating around the bush, let's get into it, right? So first off, what is digital marketing success? And really the way we kind of define it is, first, it's creating a compelling digital footprint. And then from there, making sure that you're establishing trust online, and then further building a strong relationship so that you can continue to build that offline with your clients, right? And so the cornerstone of all business is trust. I think every single person on this knows that trust is paramount, especially in these sensitive times. People are more sensitive to just the customer experience that they're going to have. They want to know that they're safe. They want to know that the money that they're going to spend is going to be well invested in whatever product or service that they're going to be acquiring through your business. And so it's important that radiates and is reflected online, so that as somebody is kind of doing their research, that they're getting that warm and fuzzy, that trust feeling, and creating that trust factor with you, so that they do reach out and call you. And so what does trust look like today in this digital landscape? It used to be just a referral from word of mouth was enough, right? And nowadays we all know that nobody carries around business cards anymore. It is one of those situations where if somebody wants to refer a business to you, they simply say, oh, you got to go check out, Frank's Tire Store. Okay, well, from there, all they do is they go and they Google something, right? And as a result, the question is, what shows up when somebody searches Frank's Tire Store? And this is just an example of one of my clients, Finney Ridge Painting, and what kind of shows up when you Google them. And we'll kind of break this down a little bit more as we kind of go along. But what I want to point out is just, here's how that you convey trust at that first impression, right? Because this is really the first impression that somebody's going to have of your business. Obviously, the referral is probably going to speak highly of you. But the question is people want to corroborate that with information that they find online. And so as you can see here, when somebody searches for this business, all of the search results here are all different review sites. Like even their URL for their business is attached to their Google My Business listing. And I know everyone of you probably knows and understands that Google My Business is always attached to your URL. But you'll see that there's Yelp, there's Facebook, there's Angie's List, there's Porch, there's Better Business Bureau, there's House, there's Checkbook. So he's got all of these results on that first page of Google are all review sites, which means that Google knows and understands that the buyer's journey, what they're looking for is to vet this person to see if they have that trust with that individual. And so really what reviews have become is they become the new digital form of word of mouth marketing, right? Which is awesome because all these platforms are free to be on and to get reviews on. So please don't walk away from here going, oh my gosh, I got to spend all this money on Yelp, or I got to spend money on Facebook to get seen. No. please understand that you can create a profile on these all for free, and you can get reviews, which are going to create that social proof that's necessary. But I do want you to understand how important those reviews are, because they're what's going to be that new sort of form of word of mouth. And we'll kind of talk about, you know, search and what the impact is there. And I want to share some statistics, right? I jokingly, for those who know me dearly, I call myself a recovering engineer. So I don't come to marketing with a very sort of an artsy touch. I come from a very systematic approach. And so for me, I'm a big data driven guy, right? If I don't see data, I don't really believe it. And so that's why for me, I want to share with you some stats so you can really understand the gravity and the importance of reviews and how those are impacting your business, right? So number one, reviews are what's going to build trust, right? And this is just an example. There's a survey done by Bright Local every single year about consumers and their interaction with reviews. And so how many people read reviews for local businesses? Well, 82% do, right? So that is the vast majority of people are reading reviews, and they trust reviews. And the reviews play a very important part in the kind of buying journey for a consumer. And now more and more people are using online to find and evaluate these different businesses. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about awareness and findability a little bit later. Those are going to be in kind of the follow-on webinar series, but we're going to kind of start at the beginning, right? This is kind of the lowest hanging fruit. This is kind of the gateway to your business, and your reputation is part and parcel to that. And making sure that there's reviews, and that the social media kind of corroborates your image online and builds that trust, because that's going to lead to conversions. If people feel like they can like, know, and trust you through the opinions of other people online, they're more likely to convert, which makes all the marketing that you're doing, both offline and online, much more effective. And so you kind of get this multiplier effect as a result. And then, of course, you know, leveraging that even beyond that to make sure that you're creating referrals by having that awesome customer experience, and then inviting those people that have interacted with you to go share that online is key, right? So step number one, and hopefully this is something you've been doing. If not, obviously nobody's gonna you know, fault you for it, but making sure that you're asking your customer, your client, your patient, how they found you. Right? This is so important for you to understand and identify, hey, what is it that I'm actually putting effort into that's working for me? Right? So that you can continue to put more and more effort behind it, so that the things that you're investing your time and energy in are the things that are actually driving results for you and your business. And I think what you'll find is that, you know, most people are going to be looking at your reviews, because once they look at your reviews, I find this graph very interesting, because it tells you what do they do after they read those reviews. Well, you know, a third of them go and visit your website. Almost another third of them go and search for more reviews to validate that choice. So maybe they read your Google reviews, now they're going to go read your Yelp reviews, or maybe they read your Yelp reviews and vice versa and stuff like that. And so, you know, beyond that, they might go visit your business, right? They might just actually go, hey, that's enough for me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to use this business. Or they might just contact your business, and you'll see that a very small percentage of them actually go continue to search other businesses. So making sure that you have those reviews is important. And now your reviews are really the doorway to your business. It used to be your website, but now it's your reviews, because that is the thing that can really stop somebody from clicking to go to your website or to call you, right? Because we all got that easy access on our mobile phone. And so we want to make sure that we have that social proof that invites them in and says, hey, the referral you just got that directed you here or wherever you found me, that is something that you should follow through on. And so step number two is making sure that you ask if they've read your reviews. The power here is that if you point them in that direction, your reviews can say things that you can't say about yourself, right? And reviews are trusted by people almost as much as personal recommendations. So 75% view a review online as holding as much water as a personal recommendation from a family or friend, right? So this is the equivalent. Having a review online is like their mom saying, hey, you should go use this business. And so realizing the gravity that these reviews hold for your business is truly powerful. And so here's just an example of how reviews can say things that you can't about yourself, right? So, you know, here's an example. You know, Marco was a fantastic technician. He called before he came, corrected the problem in 1 minute. I also received a call from Angel to see if I was satisfied. It was so nice to have such follow-up, right? Right there, they're sharing how important the follow-up was to them. Or for board doors from Global Garage and Gate, the work was superior quality and was done quickly and on the same day, A++++, right? These are the kind of validation that's so important, right? Dr. Moulton is the best veterinarian. I will forever be grateful for Dr. Moulton. Her expertise is unmatched, and I completely trust her when it comes to Bell's health. I just, how more glowing of a review can you have about you and what you do for your clients? And obviously I can go through a lot of these. Cheryl and her team, came out to clean, and now we loved it so much we had them scheduled again, and now they're actually cleaning our house twice a month. I mean, think of the gravity of that, right? That is like an over the top sort of exclamation for the quality and the caliber of the work that's being done by that business. That's something that in this case, Cheryl can't say that about herself. She'd sound very braggadocious, but when somebody reads that online, they're sold, right? And that's really what we want, because we want to build that trust, and consistency builds trust, right? So the question is, okay, what do you look like on multiple platforms, right? Gone are the days where you could just be the king of Google or the king of Yelp and you could be good, because right now there's so many different review sites out there. And we'll kind of talk about which ones you want to focus on, but you have to have consistency, right? Here's an example, Southwest Plumbing. I'm sure a great company, right? They've got amazing Google reviews, right? But they're really hurting on Yelp, right? And beyond that on Checkbook, right? So the question is that comes to somebody's mind is like, okay, why are they so bad here and why are they so bad here, but they're so great here? That always breeds a little inconsistency, and people start to go, right? And you just don't want people to pause. The next step is I would share praise for those who leave reviews, right? As you say, hey, have you checked out our reviews? And they go, oh yeah, no, I loved your reviews. They were great. That's a great time to pause and just say, yeah, we really appreciate when our customers, our clients, our patients go and leave us reviews, because it means the world to us, because we're trying so hard to make sure we're delivering that awesome experience. And we're just super grateful for people that do it. Right there, what you're doing is you're starting to create a review generating culture, because what you're implanting in their mind is that you're super grateful for that. And most people just want to be acknowledged for doing a good job, right? So there's a lot of power in making sure that you're telling them and indicating to them, if somebody does leave a review, that it is going to be noticed by them, right? Step 4, check in with your customers regularly, right? And do this in a very tasteful, thoughtful manner, right? Not a, how are things going right now? And I could only imagine if you've been in business for a while, you know how to interact with your customers, right? But the idea of saying, hey, just wanted to check in, see how things are going, right? Keep it an open, free response type dialogue, so that they can communicate if maybe something's just not up to par, because the last thing you want to do is be surprised at the end, right? You want to consistently kind of figure out, hey, on the barometer of, doing well to maybe not so well, where do we lie, so that we can continue to make sure that customer experience is on par, right? And here's why I say that is because you need to make sure that your star rating is staying above 4.0 stars, right? And the reason why is because 47% of customers or consumers aren't going to use a business that has less than 4 stars. So right there, you're almost cutting out half of your potential customers if you have less than 4 stars online. So you want to make sure that you're touching base with them to make sure that the experience is good and it's a highly rated experience, so that when they do go and give you a review or provide feedback, that it is above those 4 stars, okay? Step 5. Encourage feedback and reviews. I think too often we kind of shy away from, asking or inviting people to provide that feedback for fear that maybe it's going to be negative. And this is something I share with my clients, is that I've been tracking feedback and reviews for 7+ years. The majority of businesses, 95% of it's positive, right? And 5% is maybe negative or neutral. And of those negative and neutral, usually it's just a miscommunication. And it's something that if it had been handled or addressed maybe a little bit earlier, wouldn't have kind of turned into such a big issue. But again, the vast majority, you wouldn't be in business if you were not doing good in terms of customer experience and customer service. So I just invite you to realize that asking in some form is not out of the norm. What I will point out, though, is that 33% or a third of people actually have never been asked to leave a review, right? So this is an opportunity. Most people are not doing this. And that's why I would say that, the majority of potential or prospective clients that come to me don't have the requisite number of reviews that they would expect that they would have, having been in business for many, many years. Is just simply because they haven't been asking, or they haven't made it an easy way for their customer to give back that feedback, right? So I think this one is also very encouraging in the sense that the vast majority of people who provide reviews do it from a place of positivity, right? And realizing that the vast majority of people are giving positive experiences and reviews in that realm, right? So step 6 is respond to every review, whether it's positive or negative. And I think it's interesting because most people think that you only want to respond to negative reviews, and most people avoid that entirely, right? So definitely make sure you're responding to the negative reviews in kind and inviting that dialogue to continue offline, but also respond to the positive reviews because you're signaling to potential customers that you are staying in touch, your fingers on the pulse of, you know, both good and bad feedback, and that you really care about it, right? And here's why. This is a really compelling argument for taking that time, and it doesn't have to be something, you know, overly onerous, but, you know, do you read businesses' responses to their customer reviews? 97% of people do. And there's a reason, right? That is going to be more of a window into your business, and the way that you conduct your customer service is how you're responding to people, both positive and negative. And this one is really compelling to me in the sense that I am more likely to use a business that has responded to their existing reviews. 71%. I think that is absolutely crazy, right? In the sense that if you're responding to your reviews, you are definitely putting yourself in a great position, very favorable for people to engage in and to call you, right? So let's talk about responses to reviews. Here's a great one. One of my clients, she is just on top of it like you wouldn't believe, and responds to every single one of her reviews. I think there's a reason why she's 4.7 stars and 165 reviews is because she is super engaged with every single one of her clients, and they respond accordingly. And so the invitation here is to make sure that you are responding, because it's going to show up. And this is just obviously in Google's one, but you can see the response from the owner is showing up right here. And again, it's not like she's writing a really long response. She's just letting him know that, you know, she's thinking about him, she cares about him, and she's excited to kind of see him again. And that just invites people to feel like, oh man, every time I go, that's going to be awesome, right? What I want to do kind of was transition into what kind of missed opportunities can happen if you don't take action here, right? I think obviously we all see the positive repercussions of putting in the effort here, but the other side of that is, okay, but if we don't do it, what are we potentially missing out on, or what is it causing us to lose out on that maybe we hadn't thought of? And so one of the biggest things, and I'm seeing this a lot more so than anything now, is just that people are not capturing their own referrals, right? So you've done all of this hard work of establishing your business and a reputation in the community that is generating referrals, but those referrals are going online, they're Google searching you, right? And they're not seeing the requisite information that's compelling them to actually give you a call, because it's a lack of reviews, or maybe the rating just isn't reflective of the quality and caliber of service that you provide. And so it's really, really important when your competitors are just a click away to make sure that you're doing your part to draw people in. And so what I'd like to do is, John, I just want to kind of get your input, your feedback here, right? Because this is kind of not my area of expertise, but it's yours. And just kind of talking about the power of, you know, the ads here that are showing up, and how maybe that is, you know, causing people to maybe miss out on opportunity.
Sure, thanks, Chris. One thing we've seen, well, first of all, the red box is the search engine marketing area, or the pay-per-click. And then you have the green box, the lower left-hand side, which is the organic section. And then you have the review section, which is over on the middle right-hand side. The pay-per-click search engine marketing side, what we see for the search, or what the prospect does, the way they search is, let's say they're looking for a garage door repair. So they go to Google, they type in garage door repair Seattle, then they click on the pay-per-click ad, one of the 3 ads you see at the top. They visit the website, they like the website, they go through the website, they see that this company does do garage door repair. And then the very next thing that they do is they go to the Google search box and they type in ABC garage door repair reviews. And then they read the reviews on the business. And if the reviews are positive, then boom, that's good. The prospect then goes back to the client's website and then contacts the client, or fills out a form submit, or stops by the business. If the reviews are negative, we see that the process kind of stops there, and then it seems like they go on to a different business. So the more positive reviews you have, the better. With the search process being they go to Google, type in the type of service they're looking for, visit the website, then they read the business reviews, and then if it's positive reviews, then boom, you get that next action by the contact, either a form submit, a phone call, and we're able to track all that through the process. Or if the reviews are negative, then we see the prospect kind of go in a different direction. Also, you see down at the solid red box there, a review, thanks Chris, yeah, right through there, where Google's now showing reviews for businesses in their text ad. That's what a text ad is right there. It's 4 or 5 lines of information. And by showing those positive reviews in the text ad, you're more likely to be clicked on because of that 4.5 out of 5-star rating or 5-star out of 5-star rating. What we notice is that Google does not tend to show the companies that have lower reviews in their text ad. So 2 things: have positive reviews on your Google Maps, which is on the right-hand side there. And then those positive reviews will have a much better chance of showing up in your text ad when the prospect is looking for you.
Hey, thanks, John. I really appreciate it. And one thing I would just kind of point out is just the evolution of the ad in general. It used to be very clear about probably 10 years ago, John. I mean, the color was different in the background. It was like very clearly, these are ads, right? And what we've seen is slowly over time, then it was just, maybe a green word that said ad, but now you can see it looks just like the regular search results. So people don't even know, right? They'll type in Finney Ridge and then they'll just click on the top result, and then they end up on CertaPro and they call CertaPro, right? And then my clients is missing it. So like you said, having that compelling image there is super important. So thanks, John. I really appreciate your insight there. And so the next thing I want to kind of talk about, because that's the impact on search engine marketing, right? But the other piece is, okay, how is this actually impacting your local SEO rankings? Because I think a lot of people don't realize that reviews have a huge impact on where you're ranking from a search engine optimization standpoint and how those factors can kind of play in. And so, Molly, what I'd like to do is just kind of hear your input on sort of how that's impacting people from a search engine side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the controls so you can wave the mouse and click away.
There we go. Good
There
now?
we go.
All right. Forgot I muted myself. Construction. Let me go back one. There we go. Chris, yes. So you're absolutely right. The your local SEO is not smally, but largely impacted by your rankings. And so what are we even talking about when we say local SEO? We're talking about 2 things: where Google is going to rank you in that map section, which we've taken a look at and you showed us, and where are they going to rank your website in the organic results that John just pointed out that generally sit below that map section. It probably goes without saying, but everyone should care greatly about where they rank in those 2 capacities, because they're huge drivers of traffic for your business, in phone calls, in website traffic, all of the above. So what does Google care about? The short answer is a lot of things. This graph kind of shows that. It's not the simplest of formulas, and we're going to talk about some of these, including link signals and on-page signals, in some of the future webinars in the upcoming weeks. But today, obviously what we are focused on is this piece, the review signals. And like I said, it's not a small piece. Over 15% of what Google is looking at and caring about when they are deciding where to rank you is reviews. So we're going to talk about what some of those signals are. I think some people will be familiar with some and could be surprised by some of the others. But again, when we say review signals, we're talking about the factors of your review profile that Google really cares about when they are determining where to rank you. So the first few we're going to look at are recency and velocity, which really are exactly what they sound like. Google cares, just as a potential client or customer would, about how recent your reviews are. They want an accurate representation of how your business is today, not a year ago. And I think that makes sense. All of us can kind of relate to that and understand why that would be important. So Google thinks that's important also. Here's a great example, one we've stamped as good. So this is a powerful review profile. They have a good number of profiles, a great star rating, but look how recent these are. The first one was 4 hours ago when the screenshot was taken. The one before that, 5 hours ago. The one before that, I think that's 6 or 8 hours ago. But bottom line, these are extremely recent, which again, not only to Google, but to a potential client or customer, this is the best representation of how your business is doing right now. So recency velocity is really talking about how consistent these are coming in. So great if you did have one that comes in 2 hours ago, but if your last one before that was a year ago, that's going to lessen the review profile a little bit again. So you want these coming in recently, but you want them coming in at on a consistent basis as well. And that's what the velocity is speaking to a little bit. We'll look at a little less powerful one, not necessarily bad, but you'll see here, and again, you might look at this and go, this is great. They have a 4.8 star rating. Oh, excuse me. They have a 4.8 star rating, and that looks really good. But their last review was 6 months ago. And then before that, it was a few months before that. And the third one is a year ago. So again, both Google and the consumer in this case are going to think this is a little bit less credible just because they're not that recent. And that's going to impact where you're ranking, not only your website, but in that local map section, these have an impact. The next two, rating and quantity, I think people are a little more familiar with these. I think if you ask most business owners, do you have reviews online? How are they? They're probably going to talk about their star rating, which is great. Right now, we have Sound Garage Door. Shout out to John. He does an awesome business, and it shows here. 5 stars. You can't do any better than that. So his star rating is perfect, but what makes it even better is this part right here, which is the quantity. That 5-star rating is based off 422 reviews, not 5, which again would make this review profile a little bit less powerful. That is 5 stars based on a ton of reviews, which just innately makes it more reliable. So those going in tandem and having the star rating based on a huge quantity of reviews really is kind of the golden ticket there. You want both of those to be high and powerful. So let's talk about setting some goals. It's gonna vary depending on your industry, depending on where you're located. So are these totally solid numbers? They're great goals to have, but yes, it's gonna vary. How many reviews should you aim to have? And what are we basing this off of? The magical number we're gonna put here is 47. And how did we get there? If you look at this first blue column here, this is the average number of reviews that businesses ranking in positions 1 through 3, which is really the only kind of 3 that people are going to see in that local pack on the first page of Google. It's really where you want to be. Those businesses in 1, 2, and 3 have an average of 47 reviews. If you scroll down, there's a little thing you can click next to that map section to see more results, which most people are not going to click on, but some people will. And then you'll get into the businesses that are ranked 4, 5, and 6, and those have an average of 40 reviews. And then if we scroll even further down to the 7 through 10, those have an average of 38. And what you'll see in this slide and the next is that it's not a huge difference. That's a difference of 9 reviews. But realistically, what that means is showing up in positions 1 through 3 versus 7 through 10. And that's a huge deal breaker in terms of the type of traffic you're going to be generating with that maps review. So that's the quantity of reviews. And let's go to the star rating then. The star rating is even closer. So this one kind of blows my mind. Goal here is 4.47 stars on any review site. But this graph here is from Google. So for those businesses ranking in positions 1 through 3 on Google, the average star rating there was 4.47. Right next to that, it goes down to 4.46 for those that are ranked 4, 5, and 6, and 4.45 for the ones that kind of drop down to the 7 to 10 range. So that's incredibly close. A business owner might feel very good about a 4.45 star rating, but again, when that's the difference between being ranked 7 to 10 or showing up first or second or third in that map section, that's a huge difference. So these are some kind of goals to keep in mind. Let's look at the last one here. How recent do your reviews need to be? People were asked, how recent does a review need to be to impact your decision? And 70% of people kind of responded to one of these first. So either within the last 2 weeks, which is extremely recent and great, or within the last month. So a majority of people want or are impacted by a review that happened in the last month. And you'll see the numbers dwindle down a little bit. People still could be impacted by something 6 months ago, a year ago, but it becomes increasingly less likely that someone's going to take an action or be impacted by a review that's any older than a month ago. So again, pretty powerful. These are just, I think people kind of simplify it in their head and say, I've got reviews, I think they're good, but this is just to kind of give you an idea of not only what people are caring about, but Google, because whether we like it or not, we got to care about what Google is looking at your review profile, and what factors they're using to kind of rank you in these places. So that's kind of the quick SEO spiel. We'll pick up and kind of extend some of that in some of the future webinars, but Chris, I'll handle it back to you.
Awesome.
To continue.
Thanks, Molly. I appreciate it. And one thing there's a story I like to tell about this is, and what's I think compelling here is just the shift. This is 2017 compared to 2018, right? And seeing the huge jump from 18% looking at within 2 weeks to 40% wanting to see it within 2 weeks. I just think is a compelling argument for the fact that we need to be getting reviews on an ongoing basis. And I always liken this to that Chinese buffet that's in your local downtown that you keep driving by, and it always says, under new management or grand reopening, right? And it's because they're trying to convey that there's been a change in management or there's been a change in ownership. And the reason is because people are always curious, like, are things changing in the business, right? And maybe you've got reviews from 2 years ago, but you might not be in business any longer, number one, or number two, are you still delivering that same level of service to them? And so that's why people are putting more and more weight on more recent reviews, because they know if somebody went in 2 weeks ago and got a certain level of customer service, that they're going to probably most likely get the same level. So they have a higher degree of confidence in that person's review. So yeah, thanks, Molly. I appreciate it. This is an interesting one that I have been seeing affect more and more companies over the years, starting with kind of when I first started back 7 years ago. This is a true story. I had a doctor. He was a dentist. And when I first met him, he was in the process of trying to buy another practice simply so that he could have enough patients so that he could continue to stay open, right? And he had I want to say a 1.2 star rating on Google. And so we chatted, and I was helping him out, and we got him to a 4.2 star rating on Google. And as a result, what was happening is that it actually created this vicious cycle within his business because he had such low reviews. He was attracting low quality employees, and those low quality employees were providing low quality customer experience, or patient experience in this case, which was causing him to generate more low quality reviews, which were only allowing him to hire low quality employees. So he was seeing a lot of turnaround. And so what we did is we shored up his reviews, and sure enough, once he got those reviews up, he started to be able to attract better talent that stayed around, right? And then he was, I think it was like within 12 months, he was in a point where he couldn't book somebody within 4 months. And now he got a couple of negative reviews, and it was because people wouldn't fit him in. And so he was so booked that he couldn't actually get people in. So I just invite you to think from that standpoint that your reviews are important because your employees or prospective employees are going to be Googling you too. And that's just one of those things that I don't think a lot of employers are realizing, that those reviews could be impacting your ability to hire good quality content. So let's talk about some action items here, right? We want to keep this really, really simple, straightforward. And I would say there's really 3 things that you want to take away from this, right? Is make sure that you're asking for feedback so that you get more reviews, right? If you're not asking, people don't know that it matters to you. They don't know that it cares, and you can't direct them to the right place to get reviews, right? Number 2 is to respond to your reviews. There's a lot of power, as we saw. The data definitely indicates that you responding, and it's an opportunity for you to share your personality, to share how you care about your customers, your clients, or your patients, right? So taking that opportunity, and then making sure that you're leveraging those reviews, right? In the initial sort of opening conversation with a prospective customer, client, or patient, to kind of point them back to those reviews, to only build up more social proof in their mind as to why you're such a great company to be wanting to work with. Putting these third-party reviews on your website is also another great way to create third-party validation, right? Gone are the days where somebody would read a testimonial that you had typed out and given to your web developer and believed it, right? Especially since that might have been on your website since the copyright date, which might say, 2001, which isn't necessarily a good thing either. So making sure that you're leveraging those reviews accordingly. And so you can kind of see down here, this is an example of a little checklist. This is the success checklist that we've put in the portal for you, and it just explains, hey, here's the action you want to take, what you should do, when you should do it, and then why you should do it, right? So this can be helpful for you as maybe you're communicating this to an office manager or maybe the receptionist, so that they can understand why their job is so important in terms of articulating the importance here with these reviews. And so just some of the lessons I've learned over 7+ years of helping clients do this is you got to make it easy for yourself, and you got to make it easy on your customers to give those reviews for you. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can do that. You want to be timely and proactive with your reach out so that you catch negative reviews before they get online. Much harder, I think we can all agree, it's much harder to get a negative review down by, addressing that and talking with the customer than to just get ahead of it before it gets on there. Be consistent every single time, right? So making sure that the way you're reaching out to people is consistent. That way you can identify, is the way we're reaching out, is it effective, and do we need to change it? As opposed to just kind of, doing something different every time. You're not going to get consistent results. I would invite you to leverage a system to streamline the work and make life a little bit easier for yourself, just because if you're not leveraging a system, chances are you're investing way too much of your time in there, and you can't be doing that. You've got other bigger fish to fry. And then lastly, communicating your appreciation to your customers, making sure that that's verbally expressed. And then leveraging those reviews too, and I forgot to mention this in the previous slide, but sharing those reviews with your employees to inspire you, right? They're constantly hearing from you as the owner that, hey, you're doing a great job, keep it up. But when they hear it from a customer or a client or a patient, it's just a whole nother level of engagement and love and appreciation for the work that they do within your business. And it just gets them really motivated to kind of do that, right? So one of the things that we've all kind of tried to put together is a way to kind of help, people that are jumping on this webinar, getting this information. And, personally, I want to help you get more reviews for your business. And so what you'll do, there's a link in there. I'm going to, donate some of my time to just kind of help you navigate, hey, what could you potentially do for your business specifically to start generating more and more reviews? I just want to help you get some insights. Obviously, I'm not charging for my time, but it's just something that I feel compelled to do because I know what a linchpin this is to the success of all your other digital marketing or marketing that you're doing offline too. And happy to just give some time to allow you to ask some more pointed questions maybe about your specific situation. And a little effort goes a long way. Here's an example of some recommendations that I gave to a mutual client actually of all of ours here on the call, a couple of weeks ago, and just said, hey, have you ever thought of this? And maybe we take this approach for a little bit, right? And you can see here 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, 8 hours ago, 8 hours ago, day ago, 4 days ago. I mean, everybody wants this happening in their business. And this is, a business that had been around a while. They just didn't know how to do this. And so just giving them a couple of pointers really kind of impacted them. And so where can you kind of find that? Well, if you go to our Digital Guerrilla Marketing website, and up in the top, you'll see the login button. And we'll activate that probably here at the end of the day when the recording comes available. And then you just click on that button. The login, there's just going to be one password, and it's 2020. So we made it really easy. It's 2020. It's not that it's guarded content. So if you've got somebody else that you think would be really impacted by this, feel free to share the password. I don't really care. We want people to have this information. It's going to make our community stronger and better. And so just wanted to make sure that people knew that was available. And so I would just invite you to get excited. Next week, we're going to be talking about optimizing your listings for search. So this is something that kind of John was talking a little bit about and Molly was touching on is, hey, how do we help you make sure that you're showing up in the local pack here? Because this is where a third of the results are actually clicked here, and reviews definitely play a part in it, but there's also some additional signals like Molly was touching on for you. And so with that, we're going to kind of wrap up the content section of this. Again, you can get the slides, you can get the recording. All of it's going to be in the back end there in the portal with the access of 2020 as the password. And so we're just going to create some time for questions and answers. So please feel free to type your questions into the chat box. And I know there's a couple of questions in here already, and we'll kind of get to those. I'll let Woody take over and kind of direct that, and you can direct who you want to ask that question to. But what I'll do is I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to put our faces on so you can see us directly.
All right. Well, first I want to say thank you. That was a really, I've heard your presentation before, but I was like finding myself just absolutely absorbed into it, even though I've heard it before. So it was really good. Thanks, Molly. That was very good. And same with John. That was very interesting. even though we all work together, it seems like every time we engage each other, we'll learn something new from each other. And even just now it's happening. I do want to point out, see, one thing I made a note on is just emphasize adding reviews to your website. There's something called conversion-based optimization. So once traffic gets to your site, we want them to convert. And so a couple of things that is best practices on that is to feature some reviews at the top of your website, the top fold. The top fold refers to before you have to scroll down a little bit. And then, of course, having a phone number up there and also a form submit of some sort. But I want to emphasize the reviews really help conversion. So you've already, they're already willing to go to your site because they've seen good reviews, and now you want to seal the deal. And the best way to do it is to add those reviews up there. Also, Ali Berggren pointed out something, wanted us to mention that, it's kind of like the most obvious, sometimes the least obvious. The reviews themselves are great feedback for your business. And when we get a 1-star or 2-star review, perhaps it stings and we get upset because it's personal. But I think Ali's suggesting, take a step back and look at that review. Do we need to change something in our business? Or sometimes we get kind of a wacko, but Ali, great point. Let's see, we've got a couple questions here. Let's see, something from Hank. I'll get to that one. One question I've got is, how many review sites should I be on? Well, I'm going to answer this and then turn it over to Chris, because I'm going to say all, because Molly, wouldn't you agree that is ideal for SEO? The more sites you have out there vouching for you, the better.
Yes, and as a little teaser, that's actually just about what next week is about. So we're gonna pick a handful that provide a really good place to start, because that's an intimidating answer, even though it is true. But yes, the real answer is all of them, but we're gonna give you kind of a good starter pack and an easy place to start next week. But yeah, that's the right answer.
Good, yeah, and then I think Chris would say, okay, great, yeah, all of them, but I think you're gonna talk about let's focus, and one thing I'll add is probably should see what's showing up on page 1 of your name and hit those first. But anyway, that's Chris's area.
Yeah. That's great. You guys, it's great. We're kind of like what would you call it? We're kind of like this nice sort of gradation here. What are you starting with? All Molly's saying, yeah, let's focus on a couple. And what I usually tell clients, because you're right, all of them are important, right? And it's great if you can get them, right? But at the same time, when you give people too many choices, you give them the paradox of choice, and people kind of get overwhelmed and they just go, oh my God, there's like 10 review sites. I don't know which one. And then they click and they go away, right? So what I always, and this is kind of the way that I encourage people, first, if you aren't generating leads specifically from one of these review sites in particular, right? And this more, I think, goes to a lot of my clients who are in the trades. Usually they're generating leads from like Home Advisor or from House or from Angie's List, right? And if you go, okay, cool, let's make sure that we fold that one in. That's definitely one that we want to make sure. And then but what I usually say is default is Google, Yelp, and Facebook. And I'll be honest with you, I'm more leaning towards Google, Facebook, and then a third-party one that really impacts you. I've seen that, Yelp just continues to be harder and harder for reviews to get on and stick to. You also find that Yelpers typically go and Yelp anyways. So, because Yelp has its own way of it's tracking your location for most of your clients anyways, and it will send them a review and say, hey, you got directions here and you showed up. Would you like to leave a review, right? So almost Yelp internally is kind of doing its own sort of process. So you taking the time and effort to focus on maybe one other review site that's impactful can be really, really helpful. So usually my default answer is Google, Yelp, and Facebook, unless of course somebody's paying for advertising on one of these other ones or is getting a lot of just referrals, right? I have a lot of people in the trades that just get tons of business from Angie's List. So it makes sense. Hey, let's make sure that we're continuing to get more reviews on Angie's List to continue to cultivate those leads. So yeah, great questions, you guys. And then yeah, to Molly's point, review diversity is important. So making sure that you're getting it on at least three websites is really powerful too. So
well,
thanks.
Yeah, thanks Chris. Thanks, Molly. We got another question here, and it is it better to ask for reviews via email or text? You know, I'll let Chris answer this, but I would say just my 2 cents is text is a little bit more personal, I think. And but anyway, Chris, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I want to believe all of the data that comes out about text and the power of text and how many text messages get read and all that kind of stuff. But I'll be honest, and this is because clients ask me this all the time, is what I do is I just see more follow through with the email than I do with the text. And I just think to myself, what do I do? And the difference between text and email is you read a text message and you've read it, right? And so if you didn't take action at that point, then you're probably not going to take action, right? Whereas in your email inbox, you can look at something, go, oh, I don't have time for that, but you can keep it as unread and you can go back to it. And so I'll say the vast majority of my clients and where they're getting their reviews from is is email and not text message. So that's kind of my sort of preference is email. And I think too, because you can say a little bit more in an email and it becomes a little bit more personal if you can kind of make it come from the specific, like the business owner or the director of customer or patient experience and stuff like that. So I think you tend to get a little bit more engagement than just like a random text message, because chances are, because of all the different text message laws, you know, you got to have a separate text message phone number that it comes from. And so it doesn't really come as personal as something that may be an email. So, but yeah, great question there.
Great. Yeah. And then got a question from Gurpinderjeet, and that is, she says she's a healthcare provider and opening the practice in about 4 months. And she's asking, when do you recommend making my website live and claiming Google, Yahoo, Bing pages? So I'll let Molly take that one on. You know, I think
and I'll add a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
Sandbox, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's an exciting time. So congratulations.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a busy 4 months. I can imagine this is when everything starts to come together. So the ideal answer, which is not going to be possible, is if those could coincide and, you know, the day that you launch, the website goes live and all these profiles can be live, that's great. But since that's not possible, it's better to err on the early side than the later side, because if you launch the practice, you know, in day 1 and you don't have a website for people to visit or your Google Maps listing set up for people to see where you're located and the hours and all of that, you're going to be missing out on business from the get-go. So I say the earlier the better. Get ahead of the curve. The only caveat to some of these things, for Google and Bing, for instance, is that setting those up, you generally will need to send out a postcard to your physical address to be able to claim and work on that listing. And so if you don't have access to mail at that location yet, that could be the only thing that prevents you from doing that before you're actually in the space. But if you can get mail there, if you have the physical space and you just have not technically opened yet, get these things set up. It's better, I think, to, you know, receive a phone call and say, hey, this is the information, to answer their question and let them know that you're not technically open until this date, rather than leave people kind of searching for more information. So get on it sooner than later. These things always, unfortunately, end up taking a little bit longer than you anticipate. So get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and I would just
Maps,
add
I believe.
I'm
sorry,
think,
go ahead.
oh, John, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say the Google Maps, I believe, is 4 to 7 business days.
Yep.
So maybe 10, 12 days, you go in there, get it all set up, then Google will send you a PIN number, and that's what you claim that Google Maps. And I believe that Bing is the same way. So 4 to 7 business days to get the Bing and Google Maps set up.
Good deal. Yeah, and I think it's almost setting up your website and having your listing on Google and Yahoo, in some cases, you know, maybe more important now than making sure your phone is turned on before your business. It's just crazy. But you know, one thing too to keep in mind, if you've not registered your domain name yet, I would do so today, because Google has something called the sandbox, where they're not really willing to rank a brand new business on the page 1 results, because Google always is looking at how good of a result are they giving their searchers. They don't focus on the money and the ads. They focus on how does this benefit our users. Do we want to rank a brand new business on page 1? Because they know if they please the users, they're going to remain dominant. So they don't like to rank things on page 1 for 6 months. So if you One way to get around that is you register the domain name now, put just a simple coming soon page, and then put your business name. That'll season the domain name, and at least we've got 4 of the months knocked off. So that would be an ASAP. And Chris, I think you got something, right?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on what John said. Google will send you a postcard, but I'll be honest with you, about 9 times out of 10, that postcard never makes it to you. So just something to think about is I believe it's either 10 business days or it's 14 days. I can't remember. But after that, you can actually log into your Google My Business, and you got to hunt around because they keep moving it around. But you can find a support phone number and you can call them. And then if it's been that long, you can actually verify over the phone. They used to make it where you could like instantaneously verify over the phone, and it was awesome. But just if you're kind of like thinking, hey man, I haven't gotten that postcard, instead of resending it again and kind of waiting out again at playing the waiting game, is I would just try and find that phone number, give them a call, and usually they'll verify it over the phone with you. And then the other thing that I would say is, start as early as you can, getting all that stuff set up. I know, especially in the medical world, usually you have somewhat of a soft opening, right? So you're probably maybe a week or 2 weeks, you're kind of getting the kinks out, like trying to get your whole sort of choreographed dance going on, right? So you're seeing patients then. I would invite you to be asking for reviews then, all the way through kind of the beginning, because you're going to start with you're going to start with some momentum. And the other piece too, and this all depends on the practice that maybe you're coming from. I don't know if you're coming right out of med school, but if you're working at another practice, chances are, because this is how Google and Yelp want it to be, is they want every doctor to have their own profile, right? So you might actually already have a Google My Business profile out there. So I would do a Google search on yourself and see if you've got a Google My Business page, and maybe it just says your name, and then what you can do is you can go claim it, right? You can say that I own this business, which is obviously just your name, and go through the process of validating and verifying that. And then when it comes time that you open up your practice, you can just put the name of your practice ahead of it, your name, and you'll keep it there. And what that'll allow you to do, if and depends on what your relationship is with the current practice owner that you're with, is you can be asking your patients at that current practice to leave you reviews on that Google business listing that you already have. So in a way, over the next 4 months, if you're still practicing at some other practice, you could be getting Google reviews. And then when you turn over and turn on the lights, or you open the doors for your hard opening, that bam, you could start off with, I don't know, 10, 20, 15, 30 reviews. I don't know. Obviously it depends on, the volume that you're doing and asking people, but yeah, you could jumpstart everything really quickly. And that's one of the things that most people, I think, don't realize, is you actually might have a Google business listing right out there right now, especially as a doctor. So hopefully that helps.
Good. Right on. Thank you. We've got a couple of questions here that are kind of on the same thing, and it's about a negative review. And, what do I do? What's the best way to respond? And I'll say that there are other companies out there that have received bad reviews, but have figured out a way to answer very eloquently. But the best thing to do is you can look at those. But the best thing to do is probably give us a call so that we can give you a script, and then we would want Chris to be involved and probably help out to what we call suppress the negative reviews through Reputation Igniter, to be direct. So that's what we'd want to do. Is it bad to give a gift or incentivize a client to give a review? I'll tell you, I know Jorve Roofing once sent out $20 Starbucks cards to people willing to leave a review. So the salesperson, after the roof finished the installation, said, hey, if you leave us a review on Yelp or Google, we'll send you a $20 gift card. It worked, but that could add up very quickly. But I'd like to actually turn this one to Chris. What do you recommend on that?
Yeah, it's because that's one that I get asked a lot, right? And we'll kind of divvy it up. So first off, Google, Yelp, Facebook, they don't want you incentivizing it, right? So what I always say is, if you're going to go that route, incentivize them for feedback, not for the review, right? So, hey, we'd like to get your feedback. If you give us feedback, we'll give you a Starbucks gift card. And then from there, you can potentially, say, hey, Starbucks gift card in the mail. I've copied and pasted what you said, and I'd really appreciate if you wouldn't mind sharing it on Google, Yelp, or Facebook, right? And usually people kind of feel the reciprocity there. But then I'll also say it out of the other side of my mouth that honestly, I have not seen a significant lift in response rate or follow through when people incentivize. Now, I think that was more so at the beginning, but nowadays it's just, people aren't really going to put the effort. If you do an awesome job as a customer, as a business, people are willing to share, right? You just got to make sure that you ask, right? That's the biggest thing is most people don't ask. Because I talk to my wife all the time about this, because it's funny. She's like, it's funny because you are, you're in the review business, yet I don't leave any reviews. And what I always invite her to is go write a review. She's like, yeah, well, maybe I would if somebody just kind of made it really easy for me. And I go, okay, well, I guess that's what's going to keep me in business for a while, right? So you got to make it really easy for people to kind of take that action. And then one thing I'll just tag on to that last question about the negative reviews is I would make sure that it's personal. I definitely wouldn't get into it with them online. I would just invite that conversation to go offline as soon as possible and give them a direct contact number instead of maybe the business general number. Say, hey, here's a direct connection to my office manager. She would like to talk to you, or I would like to talk to you. Make it personal, like, hey, this is a serious issue and we want to address it, and not some canned response that you're given every time, but something that seems kind of heartfelt and wanting to kind of get to the bottom of it. And I've seen honestly, a lot of people have removed negative reviews just because they feel like the business owner reached out and rectified the situation. So cool. Well, Woody, hey, I know I think that was all the questions actually. So I know we're just over time, but I just wanted to say thank you everybody for joining us this week. Remember, if you showed up today, you've already registered for all the other follow-on webinars. So I just invite you to make sure that you plug into those. We'll send out an email letting you know that everything is kind of uploaded into the portal. And then I just invite you to share this. I think maybe just seeing it for what it's worth and the actionable content that you're getting here, our hope is to kind of spread this as far and wide as we possibly can to educate more and more business owners. So if it's helped you, by all means, please, we'd really just feel excited to be able to help more people on the next webinar and the next webinar and the next webinar. So please, by all means, share it. And we look forward to seeing you guys all next week.
Yeah, and real quick, just to wrap a couple things. When we say we want to help all of you out, we're sincere in that we're going to do something for everyone that we're still deciding what that is, something free to help you all out during COVID-19. So stay tuned for that. We'll get that squared away and figured out. We got to kind of look at logistics behind that, but it'll be tangible. And so, we have a tradition here at WormWood, and that is Danielle. Can we unmute Danielle by chance?
Sure, I can do that.
Aha. All right, Danielle is the manager of our technical team here, and she's listening in here. But Danielle, will you take us out?
All right, go team.
All right, that's our tradition. Very good. We'll take care, everyone.
All right, we'll see you later.
Everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.